So if you bought an M4 Mac Mini, whether it's the base model or the Pro model, and you've just decided that, hey, I don't have enough ports, I hear you. And today we're going to be talking about the Orico MiniDock. Now, this thing is actually pretty awesome. For the price, you're getting all of the ports that you probably wished it came with in the first place, especially for those of you that didn't want to buy a Mac Studio. This is going to give you your SD card slot. It's going to give you back your USB Type A ports, and it's also going to allow you to expand the storage on your Mac Mini. Now, we all know if you bought the base model, myself included, that 256 gigabytes is just not enough storage for your Mac. It's not, especially if you want to do content creation, or really if you want to do anything other than typing emails and surfing the web. It's really just not a lot of storage once you install a couple of programs. So this is going to allow you to put an SSD in the bottom of the dock, and we're going to show that here in a little bit. And it's going to allow you to expand the storage on your Mac Mini, which is fantastic, especially at this price point. Now, you could do something else, like buy something more expensive, like an Enclosure dock that's Thunderbolt compatible, but you're going to be spending 3 to 4 times the money, and you're not really going to be gaining anything other than speed. And for most people, this is going to be fast enough. So without further ado, let's check out a quick unboxing of the Orico MiniDock, and then from there we're going to hop into a bunch of testing. So I'm going to go through and show you how to install an SSD, how well the SSD performs, and then we'll go over all the different ports and configurations, and we'll talk about how well that worked, and then how well this has held up with me using this over the last couple of weeks. So this is what the packaging looks like, and then I'm going to go ahead and flip this over for you so you can look at some of the specifications here on the back of the box. Feel free to pause this if you want to get a closer look. And then once we get this opened up, we're greeted with a lot of stuff here. So we're going to start off with the user manual. And then from there, we get a Type-C to Type-C cable. It is rated at 10 gigabits per second, and it's got this nice, soft, flexible material. It's like a cloth material. It feels very premium. And then from there, we get some mounting hardware, and that's going to be used for our SSD. And then we get a thermal pad also for the SSD, and a Phillips screwdriver. And then last but not least, we get the enclosure itself, and then we'll take a closer look at the actual port setup here. Now, starting on the left-hand side, the first thing we have is an LED. This is just a status indicator telling you that the device has power. And then next to that, we have a 3.5mm headphone jack. Now, this can be used for audio or microphone. And then next to that, we have 2 USB Type A ports, and they are both rated at 10 gigabits per second. And then last but not least, we have a TF card and SD card slot. Now, when we go ahead and turn this over, you'll see that on the right-hand side, if it's facing you, there is nothing. And then if we flip it over on the back, there is also nothing. And then if we give it one more turn, you'll see we have 2 more ports. They're both USB Type-C ports, with the first one being a 5-volt power port, and the second one is going to be the port that you actually need to connect to your Mac Mini. Now, just to eliminate any confusion, you do not need an external power source in order to use this. I just have the PC in connected to my Mac Mini, and it works perfectly fine. You would need to add an external power source if you were connecting a bunch of stuff and drawing too much power, and for whatever reason your device was no longer recognized, or you got an error that said there just wasn't enough power in order to initialize the drive or whatever it is that you're trying to use. But just so we're clear, there is no power supply needed in order to use the device. Now, flipping this over on the bottom, you do have your NVMe enclosure. That is a metal plate with a metal screw. And then we have 4 rubber feet here, and everything looks nice. The rest of the bottom of the enclosure is made out of plastic. All right, so now that we got the unboxing done, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put an SSD in here so that we can start all of our testing. Now, for full transparency, I used an SSK Gen 4 SSD. Now, I already know that a Gen 4 SSD is rated at a way higher speed capacity than what the Orico MiniDock is rated at, but I did that on purpose just for the testing so that we know that the SSD is not the bottleneck. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to throw that in now, and then we're going to start a series of tests. This is the 1 terabyte SSK drive I'm going to be using. And I'm just going to go ahead and throw the thermal pad on here real quick and get it installed. Now, you can buy this with a 1 or 2 terabyte SSD if you'd like, and it also supports up to 8 terabytes of storage if you want to use your own drive, which is something that's really cool, that you have the option to either buy it without anything, or you can get it already ready to go. let's hop on over to our testing, and we're going to start off with disk speed test by Blackmagic. Now I'm just going to go ahead and make sure that I have the SSK drive selected here, and then we're going to go ahead and we're just going to run through this test and see how well it performs. And it looks like we got 966.9 megabytes per second for our write speed and 886 on the dot for our read speed. Now this is actually really good because we do have a 1250 megabyte per second bottleneck for the entire dock, and I do have a KVM and some other stuff plugged in, so these speeds are indicative of the 10 gigabits per second that the actual dock offers as a whole. Now we're going to move on to a file transfer test where I have roughly 112 gigabit file, and I'm going to do a read-write real-time speed test on how long it takes to write the file to the drive and then back to my computer. And I've sped this up, that way you don't have to sit here and watch the entire thing. For the actual read speeds, it took roughly 2 minutes to transfer that 112 gigabyte file, and then it took 2 minutes and 14 seconds to write the file to the SSD. So now I just want to check all the ports. I'm going to plug in the SD card from my camera, and I just want to make sure that I can access all of my files and everything works fine there. And then just to see what happens, I'm going to run a speed test on my SD card. Now this is a UHS type 1 card, so it is only rated at around 100 megabytes per second. And so you'll see that that's about all we're going to get here for our read and write speeds in Blackmagic disk speed test. And I wasn't expecting it to be mind-blowing because, like I said, the card is only rated at 100. All right, so let's bring everything together. Now, I've been using this for the last couple of weeks. I'm actually still using it today. I got it over there on my desk. I know you can't see it, but it's still there. It's hooked up, and I'm using it every single day. Now, I think it is a fantastic product because I haven't had any issues with it, and I think for the price point, you're not going to find anything that's going to work this good. I have tested a couple of other ones not from this company, and they all have different kinds of issues where the 3.5 millimeter headphone jack gives you an audible noise as soon as you plug something into it, or the HDMI port doesn't work at the advertised resolution, or my second monitor just won't work at all from it, or there's always these little nuances for what it's supposed to do and what it'll actually do. And with this one, all the ports work. They all do what they're supposed to do. There's no audible noise with the 3.5 millimeter headphone jack, and I haven't had any problems with the NVMe that I installed. It hasn't overheated. There's been no lagging. My computer hasn't done any kind of like weird haywire stuff. I've been able to render and edit 4K video right off of that drive, and so for me, it's been fantastic. I'm still using it today because I think it's a great product, and it looks really clean and elegant on my desk. It actually replaced a much larger dock that I was using, and I had a bunch of external enclosures plugged into it, and it just took up a lot of space. And because this works so well, I just opted to remove that from my desk, and now I just use the Orico MiniDock. Now, I did offer a little bit of advice to them. Now, I don't like how I have to lift it up to hit the power button depending on how you orient the Mac Mini. Now, this isn't really a big deal because of Apple's poor design choices. You had to lift it up to turn it on anyway. And I know there are people out there that just leave their computer on all the time. I'm just not one of those people. And so I did provide some recommendations to them so that you could hit the power button still no matter how you have the Mac oriented. It's completely only because of the way I have all the wires and everything set up on my desk. I didn't want to rerun them, so I just put it in there so that I had all the ports on the MiniDock facing me, and then the Mac is in there, but the power button is on the bottom where the actual rail or ledge that holds the Mac Mini in is. And that's not really a big deal, but if you wanted to be able to just freely press the power button, you'd have to flip it over the other way, and then I would have all of the wires ran the wrong way on my desk. So you could chalk it up halfway to laziness, but I just would appreciate if you could press the power button no matter which direction you have the Mac oriented. That's all. It's nitpicking, really. Functionally, this thing works great. I have zero issues with it, and like I said, I'm still using it today. So that's all I got for this one. If you got any questions or I may have missed something, hit me up down in the comments. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. I'm going to put a link down in the video description, so if you want to check this out, you can. And if you like this video, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.